Last week, Borderlands 4 got a big update, and a lot of people were claiming that it actually made the game run better on the Steam Deck. Now, when this game released, it was very hard to run on the deck, and is still relatively hard to run on a lot of major PCs. But there is a lot of fun to have with this game, so I always found myself just powering through it and enjoying the game for itself. But with so many people claiming that Borderlands 4 is now playable on the Steam Deck with this update, I wanted to go in and check it out for myself and provide a realistic view of should this game be played on the Steam Deck even if it is more playable. And of course, I wanted to see just if it was actually playable. And for the most part, I would say it has improved, but I still would not recommend playing this on the Steam Deck. So we're just going to go over the update in this video, check out some gameplay of it, and confirm whether or not this is actually an update to make the game playable on the Steam Deck. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that like and subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified as soon as our next video goes live. Now, the update in question specifically is one that released on December 11th, which has a bunch of performance improvements that the team is going to be starting to roll out. These performance optimizations came in many forms, like improving the performance cost of different UI elements, using profile-guided optimization, improving the lumen lighting system and foliage reflections performance, adjusted AI NPC spawn counts in certain areas, removal of extra lights, especially ones used for supporting volumetric clouds, new graphics options that lets players turn off shadows, clouds, and fog, improved VRAM usage, and much more. Now, it all sounds fantastic and should make the game more playable overall, so ultimately I would consider this a great major update. However, there are people claiming that now the game is playable on the Steam Deck, and I wanted to offer an actual look to see what the experience is actually like right now. So let's start with the positives. Yes, the game's performance has improved. Now it feels like we get 30 frames per second and above in almost every single fight that I've been in and throughout the world. This is significantly better than what it was when the game released, so I would say that this is a major improvement. It actually got so stable to the point where I would consider it playable about 90% of the time, if we're just looking at the frame rate. So if you set it to 30 frames per second lock, you're going to get a pretty smooth experience for the most part. However, as soon as you take out frame rate, there are still some major issues with just trying to play this on the Steam Deck. The graphics options are completely gone, so now we cannot change anything when we're playing on the Steam Deck unless we're using the Steam Deck equals 0 command launch option. Now, to go along with that, the game uses heavy upscaling, so there is a lot of blurriness and pixelation as we're going through the world. However, I would say that it is manageable when in-game and in combat, but it can get very hard to see things when the fights get too chaotic. Where it becomes a major issue is actually the map. The icons on the map are so hard to make out and so blurry that I have to hover over every single one just to see what they actually are. It also made it really hard for me to make out where I could even fast travel to, which did get a little bit difficult when I was trying to figure out where I need to go for the next mission. And yes, while performance has improved, that doesn't actually fully alleviate all the issues. There are still going to be some drops when traveling on our bike through some areas very fast, and could drop into the 20s, and performance was always on the cusp of going under 30 in fights. Now, I noticed most of the drops were coming when driving fast through very crowded areas, but it ultimately went back to normal once I got through those areas. There were also a few times where the entire game would slow to a crawl and stutter. This brought it down to 14 to 15 frames per second, sometimes going even below 10, and would stay that way for about 2 to 3 minutes. It does seem to be random. I couldn't actually figure out a specific cause for it, but it did happen a couple of times to make it feel somewhat consistent. However, as I was recording the game, I was not able to replicate it, so it's possible that there was a little update that fixed this. However, I am going to show some screenshots because I did take some proof of this happening to me. So ultimately, while Borderlands 4 does run better on the Steam Deck, it falls short of being an experience I would recommend on the Steam Deck. Now, I'll give it credit where credit's due. It does stick to 30 frames per second more often, but we have to deal with the significant blurriness and pixelization of upscaling, more drops that do happen when we're just driving through the world, a map where we can't really tell what the icons are on it, some stutters and drops that could appear here and there, and a lack of graphical options that we could change to further improve the visuals for some compromises that we might be okay with. I would consider the improvements worthy of making this good for some light grinding in between between your main sessions on more powerful computers, but as it is right now, I would not play this fully on the Steam Deck. I will concede that frame rate wise, it is playable, and I would say at the base level it is playable, but should you play this on the Steam Deck? I'm gonna say no. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified as soon as our next video goes live. And a huge thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. See you next time.